Hello, I'm Jennifer Bonior, city producer for the Nashville 48-Hour Film Project, and I want to welcome you to the We Foster Film Nashville 48-Hour Film Project Workshop. This talkback was filmed live in front of a studio audience of aspiring filmmakers preparing to make a short film in just 48 hours during the 2022 Nashville 48-Hour Film Project. Expert filmmakers took time to discuss their approach to making a movie through both technical and creative discussions in their designated craft. We hope this shared information will both educate and inspire you to make your next film. We would love to see you out at one of our events and have you make movies with us right here in Nashville. For more information on the 48-Hour Film Project, please visit us on the web at 48hourfilm.com. And for more information about NECAT's ongoing We Foster Film program, visit us on the web at necatnetwork.org. Hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer Bonior, and I am the Nashville city producer for the 48-Hour Film Project. Just a little bit about myself and my background before we dive into rules and paperwork. I started competing in the 48 when I was in college. It's really how I found my confidence as a filmmaker. It's how I met some filmmakers that I still work with to this day. It was very vital to me, and I competed for several years, took a little break, and then the position opened up here in Nashville to become the city producer. And I was like, yes, I have to do that. The 48 was so important to me that I wanted to make sure that this competition continued here in Nashville. And this is now my 5th year acting as a city producer. And I absolutely love it. And I'm so grateful that you guys have joined us here today in the studio and at home. And I'm excited to take you through the very exciting rules and paperwork. So let's get started with the basics. Whatever you do not forget the simple rules of what a 48 is. So a 48 is an opportunity for you to create a short film concept to completion in just 48 hours. I say this all the time. It sounds crazy. It sounds impossible. I assure you it is not. Some of my favorite movies of all time have been made in a 48-hour time frame. So what is going to happen is you are going to be assigned a genre. You are also going to be given a character, a line of dialogue, and a prop that you must incorporate into your film. You will be given all of these on Friday night, and then you turn in a movie on Sunday. So let's talk about Kickoff, what Kickoff is, and what you can do before Kickoff. So all of those elements that I just talked you through that you're going to be assigned, you're going to get at what we call Kickoff, and that is the event that happens Friday night. That happens the Friday of the competition. Your team leader or several members of your team, we can talk through what the best option is for that. Traditionally, I like to send one person, the team leader, to that event. They are going to draw the genre and they are going to get the required elements, and then they're going to relay that back to the writing team, or maybe it's your full team, depending on how you like to do have your setup that evening for writing. But they are going to relay that information. That way you have your headquarters, your base camp all set up, and you have your one person who's there gathering the information. But what can you do before that night, before you get this information? It sounds like it's not a lot that you can do, but I assure you it really is, it's quite a lot. So organizing your crew, that's super important. You want to make sure that you are lining up all of the necessary people. You don't want to show up Friday night, draw your genre, and be like, oh, I forgot to get a DP. That's not going to be a great start to the evening. So you want to make sure that you have all of your crew lined up. You can have meetings with your crew. You can talk through equipment. You can organize all of your equipment and make sure that you have pickups secured for Saturday morning. You can get all of that prepared. You can also make sure that you have your cast. You can have meetings with your cast, talk through what they're comfortable working in. Do they like improv? Do they prefer dramas? Do they have a really strong comedy background? You can talk through all of that. You can also secure and scout locations. So sit down with all of your team members and talk about what they have available. Does somebody work at a coffee shop like we were talking about? Can you get access to an amazing office building? What do you have easily accessible and available to you? Make a big list and have all of that on hand before kickoff. All right. The list for what you can't do before kickoff is significantly longer, but don't get intimidated. So essentially, you cannot start the creative process. The whole point of the 48 is you are creating something in 48 hours, and we want to level the playing field. And what we mean by that is nobody can come in with a script. You can't walk in saying like, I have this amazing concept that I've been workshopping for years, because that's going to give you an upper hand. The idea is we level the playing field and everybody starts on go, which is at kickoff. So you cannot write the script. You cannot do any rehearsals with actors because, of course, you don't have a script to rehearse. You can't do any costume or set design. Now, you can gather things. You can definitely make sure that you have access to an incredible wardrobe selection or that you have access to a props house. You can get access to things, but you can't start designing the look of your film ahead of time. You cannot start shooting anything, so you can't go out and film some B-roll content that you're hoping will be useful. You can't start editing. You can't start doing any sound design or rendering, anything like that. Remember, it starts Friday night. All right. What will your genre be? That is always the biggest question. So on Friday night, we mentioned you're going to draw a genre. You're actually going to draw two. So we're really kind here at the 48. We give you an option. You will draw two genres, and then your team can decide which of those genres they would like to utilize. Or we've had some people do a combination, which is absolutely allowed. So it's always fun. The genres change every year. So as you can see right here, this is a list. I'm going to read through them real quick. Action adventure, pretty standard. Comedy, you all know what that is. Crime and gangster, dark comedy, drama, fantasy. Film de femme is one that trips people up sometimes. The idea is that you have a lead female. It's a female-centric story. Fish out of water, horror, mockumentary, romance, sci-fi, silent film, superhero, thriller, suspense. Now that's group one. That means your team will draw one of those genres. Which one it will be, you will find out Friday night. You will also draw a genre from group two. So you could get buddy film, climate film, and in climate film, we're just discussing climate topics, environmental issues, that kind of thing. Coming of age, doppelganger or mistaken identity, which I am very excited about this genre. That's a new one this year. We have family film, heist, legal film is kind of a new one. So just incorporating some kind of potentially a lawyer or legal issue. I feel like that could also be a very fun category. Musical, the dreaded musical is still in there, guys. We have seen some incredible interpretations of this. Don't be afraid of musical. You always have another option. If you're just like, no way, no how, I am not doing a musical. Don't worry, you got another genre, so you can potentially go in that direction. Period piece, revenge, road movie. Tearjerker is a new one this year, so I hope I'm going to be crying during a couple of these movies. Time travel, vacation, or holiday. Remember, trading with other teams is not allowed, but you can use one or the other, combine them. And I always like to tell people that, like, if you get vacation or holiday film, that doesn't mean it has to be a movie that's strictly about Christmas. You do have the option to, like, build in a little comedy in there. You can also make it a drama. You can meld that genre with another one. So keep your mind open. All right. Let's talk through what the required elements are. So the first one we're going to go over is the line of dialogue. We will give you a line on Friday night, and please know that we don't want to be sticklers about this. We just need to ensure that it is in there. So you'll see at the bottom we have an example here. When you say it like that, it's crystal clear versus it is crystal clear. We're not going to get caught up in things like that. You can say it either way. But the idea is that we need to ensure that line is in there. So make sure, please, please, please make sure that's in there. And remember that we do need to see it or hear it. So it needs to be incorporated in some way. If you draw silent film and are like, excuse me, how am I supposed to say the line? You can have it written out, okay? All right, character. So the character does not have to be the star. We have seen many creative uses of the character before. Sometimes people do make it the lead. Sometimes they just make it a supporting character, and that's absolutely fine. We don't need to hear the person's name said, or we don't need to see it written on a name tag. We just need to be able to infer from the context of the rest of the film who they are and that they do have the profession that's been assigned to them. So when you get your character, there's going to be a male and female version of the character as well as a profession. So an example here is George or Georgia Peterson, music teacher. Prop. I love the props so much. I always get really excited about what the prop's going to be each year. We don't find out. So just so you all know, the 48-hour staff here in Nashville does not know what these elements are going to be until Friday night. We show up, and that is when we get to learn them with you guys. So it's always exciting for us to see what National has decided is going to be the prop. So the prop has to be seen in some capacity. Again, some people will incorporate it into their film and make it a vital part of the story. Some people just make sure it's seen. I mean, we've literally seen people just be like, oh, look, it's there sitting in the corner of the frame, or they have it in shot for just, literally 1 second. The point is it just has to be incorporated in some way. But we really encourage you guys to be creative with this because we give out a special award for best use of character, best use of line of dialogue, and best use of props. So by being creative with these elements, you could win yourself an award. All right, shooting logistics. So a very common question we get is there a limit to how big or small my team can be? You got to have at least one person, obviously, but we have seen people compete with a team of one. We have also had very large teams. There was a team in Albuquerque, as you can see, that had 116 people and 30 horses in it. So it can be as big or as small as you would like it to be, but our average is about 15 people. And I always like to remind people that, yes, you can have 116 people, but that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So just be wary. All right, can you shoot outside of Nashville? Yes, absolutely you can. The only thing that's important is that your team leader be here because our kickoff is in person. It's going to be at the back lot this year, and so your team leader will be required to attend that. Now, our drop-off is going to be online, but just know that on Friday night, someone does have to be present in Nashville, and then you can start shooting outside of it. It just needs to be done within the time frame of the competition. Paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. All right, there's a lot of paperwork. We're all filmmakers here. We all know that paperwork is a big part of the 48, of filmmaking, and it is also a big part of the 48. So this is a little cheat sheet. You can also go to 48hourfilm.com/documents, and there's a cheat sheet on there as well, so you can download that and have that for yourself the weekend of the event. But this is the list of all the paperwork that you're going to need to fill out. So the wrap-up form is something that happens after you have submitted your film. It is an online form, but it is something that has to be completed in order for your film to be considered turned in. You've got your team roster that's just going to take you through everybody that competed on your team so that we have a list of all of those people. Your certification statement saying that, yes, you completed everything according to the 48-hour rules and within the time frame. We have your waiver and release forms, which are your standard cast and crew releases. So very familiar, but download those from the 48. They are specific to this competition. Location releases. We all know what a location release is. Same thing, but there's a specific one for the 48. Same with our music release and our materials release. So material release forms can get a little tricky. I know sometimes we're utilizing stock elements or maybe it's some stock music. We'll get into what you can and can't use in a second. But you do need to be able to provide proof that you have access and are allowed to use that. So sometimes that is filling out a form because somebody has given you something. Sometimes it is printing out proof that you have purchased that license. All right, paperwork tips. Cameron has already touched on this in his discussion of producing, but put one person in charge. Whoever it is, just make sure that there is one person who knows it is their sole responsibility to ensure all the paperwork is taken care of. We like to recommend that you get all of your releases signed ASAP. If you're having a group meeting at the beginning, if you're a team that likes to brainstorm with everybody, have everyone sign it Friday night. Don't wait until the end. Just get it done as soon as you can. Maybe you do that first thing Saturday morning when you show up on set. You stop, you take 5 minutes and say, all right, everybody sign your release, and then we'll start shooting. Whatever works for your team, just get it done as quickly as you can so you don't forget it, because somebody will go home at the end of Saturday after shooting, fall asleep, you will not be able to get a hold of them, and you will be panicking Sunday when you're trying to turn in your paperwork. All right. We already talked over this a little bit, but about stock needing to be accompanied by materials releases or printing off something that demonstrates you have the rights to it. Use the team checklist document that's online, so you can download that. and everything will be submitted virtually this year. So if you didn't compete with us last year and didn't get to experience cinema48.com, it's a very easy site to use. Ken later on is going to be taking us through what that delivery process looks like in the upload. But just want to make sure that, yes, if you are doing printouts and everybody's signing a physical piece of paper, that you are taking a photograph, you are scanning it, you are doing something, because you do have to upload that. So just a heads up on that. All right, get into some more specifics. Restrictions. Is your film too long? So there is a minimum and a maximum for your film. It does need to be at least 4 minutes long. It cannot be over 7. Okay, so those are very important things to keep in mind. Now, this does not include your end credits. So if your movie is 3.5 minutes long, and then you have 30 seconds of end credits, that is not a 4-minute movie. That is a 3.5 minute long movie. If your movie is 7 minutes long and you add 30 seconds of credits to the end, you're safe, because it's a 7-minute movie. It's not a 7.5 minute movie. All right, so like we just talked about, the official runtime is actually going to start with the slates at the beginning of the film. So while we're not including the end credits, those don't count against your time, the start of it does. So the start of it is after the required slates. Whew, I don't know why that was so hard to get out. Sorry about that. So opening credits do count against your film, though. So we all, I hope, here are familiar with the opening credits that we have for the 48. It's just a little slide that said this movie was made for the 48 hour. It's the information that we need to be able to categorize your film. After that, your opening credits count against your time. Your end credits do not. Now that can get a little tricky, but just as a reminder. All right, I will say this, I hate to say it, but please, please, please keep within the time frame. We understand sometimes movies go long. If you feel that your film needs to be a 12-minute movie, I get it, that is fine. You can make that choice. It will be disqualified because it does not fit within the length that is required for the competition. But we at the 48 do have to reserve the right to not show all of that 12-minute film at the screenings. We want to support everybody's art and get it up there, but we once had somebody submit, I think it was a 17-minute movie, which was a very difficult thing to screen. So we had to have a conversation and say, I'm sorry, we can't screen your film. So please don't put us in that position. We want everybody to be eligible. We want everybody to get their film turned in on time and to adhere to all the rules so that we're all eligible for awards. All right. Pre-existing media. Okay, so simple thing. Pre-existing means it existed before the competition started. You can't use it. Competition starts Friday at 7 p.m. You need to create your film after that time frame. Anything that was created before then, you cannot utilize. Now, there are certain things when we get into the stock world that you can utilize. So the idea is pretty simple. If you are utilizing a piece of stock because it enhances a film in some way, you need to put a little bit of something onto a TV screen, you need to utilize a music track that was already made. Anything that doesn't get into the actual narrative of your film, you can incorporate. We can't have people, we can't go online and grab a whole bunch of stills of the same actor that just, happens to be uploaded to iStock and then start to create a movie from that. That's utilizing pre-existing media to tell a narrative. You can only utilize small elements to enhance your film. So I know there's a lot of information on here, and I highly recommend that if you guys have questions, we talk about this more in detail afterwards, or you go onto the website, because it really does get into the details about what you can and can't use. But like we were just going over here. So you can utilize something if it's placed under the footage. You can utilize something like bullets, fires, explosions, chroma key backgrounds, those kinds of elements. It really gets into it when you start incorporating people and performers. That's when it becomes a big no-no. And remember that you need to have rights to all of this. So you can't just go into iStock, pull something down and say like, yay, that's great. You need to make sure that you have the appropriate licenses. You do need to have a Creative Commons. So we will move right along. All right. Stock music, sound effects, same thing. I know that sometimes we all don't have composers available, and so we need to utilize and lean on stock music. Absolutely fine. You've just got to make sure that you have the rights you need. Song parodies. This is a big one. We all love a good song parody, but we cannot do that unless we have rights to the actual music. Okay. All right, this is a fun list. On-time films are eligible for all of these awards, plus many more. We're constantly working with our sponsors to develop new and special awards, giving out special prizes and things that we can do to ensure that you guys know we love your work. So if you get your movie in on time, here are some of the awards that you're eligible for. We've got Best Film, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actor, Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, and Ensemble. We also have Best Cinematography, Best Editing, Best Graphics, Best Score, Original Song and Soundtrack, Sound Design, Sound Mixing, Art Direction, Costume, Hair and Makeup, and then, of course, like we mentioned earlier, your required elements and the best use of each of those. Now, if you're late, it is not the end of the world. I know it is very heartbreaking. I have had to look several filmmakers in the eye when we had drop-off in person in the past and tell them they were late, and I hate it. I want every single one of you to be on time, so please, please, please pay attention to the clock. This is a timed competition after all, but if you are late, you are still eligible for quite a few things. So if you are late, you can still win Best in Genre. You can still win the Audience Award, which the Audience Award is selected by the audiences that attend the screenings. So once you guys get your film submitted on time, please make sure, well, once you get your film submitted, doesn't matter. If the film's late, we still screen it. Make sure to let everybody know to come out and watch your film and vote for that. The screenings this year are going to be taking place September 6th and 7th. And they will be at the Regal Opry Mills. So going to be shown on a big screen. Very excited about that. You are also eligible for the Spark Award, which is a specialty award that is chosen by the Defy Film Festival. And we have additional specialty awards that we will continue to announce as the competition goes on. And of course, the Bittersweet Award. This is something that we really love to be able to give out. We know it happens. Sometimes things happen and your film gets late, but we always like to gather all of the late films and give a special award to one of the late films that we just think deserves a little recognition. All right, so how does judging happen? That's a big question for us. So all of the judging is going to happen outside of the screenings. So when you come to the screenings, that is a night for you. Please don't be worried about, like, is that person judging my film? Or was there a big enough laugh? Is that going to influence the judges? That's not what it's about. The screenings are about you guys. The judging happens off-site, so don't worry about that. There's always 3 judges, and we always try to vary the type and background of the judges. So we will traditionally have somebody who is in the educational field, hopefully is some sort of film teacher, so that they're coming at it from that kind of educational perspective. We always love to have somebody who's like a filmophile or just loves film, maybe involved in the arts community in some way, so that we've got that perspective. And then we always have an industry person, so somebody who is a filmmaker by trade. All right, the breakdown. Artistic merit. So that is 45% of how the judging works. We're talking, it's your story, the creativity, your entertainment value, just that artistic quality. That's getting judged at a 45%. We have your technical merit. So we know that 48s are complicated in the sense that, sometimes people drop out. Sometimes you just don't have enough time to get that sound tweaked right. That's okay. It's only 30%. It is an important part, but again, only 30%. And then adherence to the assignment is 25%. So if you just knocked it out of the park with the use of your character, that's going to bump up your rating in that category. So just always keep that in mind. Disqualification, we don't want to do it. So please just don't give me any reason to disqualify you. That's all I'm going to say. I don't ever want to disqualify anyone, but it happens. Okay, so what happens next? You finished your movie, you've got it turned in on time. No screenings before we have our big screening. The whole point of the big screening is that we get to experience this movie for the first time together. So keep it under wraps. Let's not share it until it gets its moment on the big screen. Next, once we've gone through the whole competition, Filmapalooza. If you guys aren't familiar with this, this is the international level of the competition. So every film that is the best in its city will go on to compete against every other film that was best in its city at Filmapalooza. That will be happening in 2023, because this is our 2022 competition. So all the winners from this go on to Filmapalooza 2023, and that'll be in LA this year. And it's pretty amazing. If you guys aren't familiar with how big the 48 is, it's in 130 cities worldwide. This is a massive, massive competition. So when you go on to compete against those other films, you are eligible. If you win Best in Nashville, you get to be eligible for the best 48-hour film of the year, period. The grand prize trophy, it's a $5,000 cash prize at the international level, and you can become eligible to screen at the Cannes Film Festival. So every year at Filmapalooza, they tend to pick between 10 to 20 films to go on and screen at the Cannes Short Film Corner, which is incredible. I mean, who hasn't dreamed of screening at Cannes, right? And you can do it as part of this competition, potentially. All right, what happens after the Nashville 48? You have a film, so you can do so much with it. Get your film out there. You have made a short film. You can enter it into festivals. You can play it at public screenings. You can upload it to websites, TV. You can do so much with it. Just get it out there. There are a couple of little rules and stipulations, especially if you decide to work with SAG actors. Those are all found on the website and something we can talk you through. But honestly, the 48 wants you to get your movie out there. So don't feel like I made it for the 48, the 48's over, and now it's just sitting there. Get it out there. All right. Was that my last slide? I did it. We talked about all the rules and the paperwork. Does anybody have any questions? Anything we want to, yeah.
I have a question, I'm sorry.
No, please.
I've been fortunate for the last couple of years, and this year should be too, that have a composer for the movie, which obviously helps immensely.
Definitely, yeah.
But I've always been curious, just in case something were to happen or they get sick. When you say music allowed by attribution, I don't know what that means.
Sure. So if you go on to whatever the stock music website that you're using, they'll say, normally it's at the bottom in the fine print of what kind of attribution licenses are available. So there's different types, and I can talk you through that more in detail if you want to show me the actual website. But most of them have that available, the license that you need. It's pretty rare that you can't find a stock music website that allows you
to use that. So if you don't have a composer, you could find genre music, and you are allowed to use that as a soundtrack as long as it's the attribution only.
Absolutely, that is correct. And just make sure that when you're submitting your forms that you print off whether you purchased a license for a monthly subscription. We just need to have proof of that so that we know you didn't go online and rip it, basically.
Right. So that's so the paperwork, because there's no actual artist to be signed.
Correct.
You just download the receipt or something like that. Is that what you're doing? So.
Yep, exactly. Or you can download the receipt and maybe on the release form say licensed through iStock or Audio Jungle or whoever you're utilizing.
And would that be a materials release or a music release?
Music release if it's for music. If you're using a sound effect, that would be materials. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever been quite clear on what to do with SAG actors. If I know you mentioned the paperwork for after the thing, but I don't. Is there a form that they need to get from SAG, or there doesn't seem to be a form on the 48 website that's different from the regular talent release? So.
Sure, yeah. So the SAG relationship with the 48 has changed drastically because of the pandemic. Things obviously changed, but they are now eligible again this year. And so what I can do is send you the contact for our local SAG contact, the contact for our local SAG contacts, and they can help you through all of that paperwork. It's nothing complicated. I've had to work with SAG actors before. It is just an additional piece of paperwork. But we just need to make sure that they are notified and that everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say something.
Yeah.
So we've had 3 Nashville films go to Cannes.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yes. It is a thing.
So that's really cool for Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville. is it's actually really incredible. Nashville has been a part of this competition for 20 years, believe it or not. So Nashville is one of the first cities that was competing in this competition. We are grassroots. Well, we were grassroots when it started, but now we are a staple in this community. So, yeah.
How many teams generally, like year to year, enter a film?
Sure. So that has obviously varied drastically with the pandemic recently, but normally around 50 teams in Nashville.
Okay.
But it depends. Other cities are smaller, other cities are bigger. I think there was a city in Mexico that was around 100 teams, so it varies. Any other? Yeah.
Is it just the team leader must be here to I mean, if you have people in different countries working with you, is that possible?
Absolutely possible. Yeah, you can have people all over the world contributing. You just need to make sure that they are working within that time constraint, and then have your team leader there because they need to bring their certification statement to Kickoff. And then, of course, be there to draw.
Can I submit animation? Like not a feature film, but like animation? Animated movie?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have an amazing team, Afternoon Stew, who's competed, I think, 4 times at the Nashville level. And it's a duo, and they always do an animation film.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and we always love seeing an animation piece. So I hope you'll consider it.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this discussion on We Foster Film, Nashville 48-Hour Film Project. We want to thank all of our sponsors who make the 48-Hour Film Project possible. We especially want to thank the Degas Family Foundation for helping us make this program possible. We Foster Film is named in loving memory of Foster Degas, who loved movies, monster makeup, Halloween, and all things creative. We are constantly thankful for the impact he has had with NECAT and his ongoing legacy of creative and technical educational programming. To learn more about We Foster Film and NECAT, please visit us on the web at necatnetwork.org. To learn more about the Nashville 48-Hour Film Project and how you can make a movie in a weekend, please visit us at 48hourfilm.com. Until next time, I'm Jennifer Bonior. Goodbye.